Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. Crazy Karen believes I should give her kid candy, let him play with us, and listen to her rant after she's been rude to everyone. XL. So I'm at the park with my sister-in-law's son and the kids of my neighbor. I want to say because neither have male role models in their lives at the moment, but somehow I'm sure that would offend someone, so we'll just say I volunteer to spend time with the boys when I can. If I'm taking Andy out, I'll call Cissie up and ask if Falcon wants to come. Though she insists I always bring Falcon's younger sister Beth too, which I never want to do because it makes me uncomfortable, but I don't really haven't shared. Now, all of these are little white kids. I'm black. They all call me Uncle Unfettered though. We are out in Williamsburg at a well-known park. I'm kind of just walking around the big boat thingy as they run around like maniacs. There aren't a lot of people there yet, though there tends to be. It's really popular. Things start up when this older kid starts wanting to play with Falcon and Andy. The kids are huge. Like tall and fat, and Falcon and Andy are both like 5 and 6. This kid looks like he's at least 10, but seems a bit young in the mind. I'm watching, but I have to keep a closer eye on Beth, who is running around with some other little girls around the swings. I got one earphone in, listening to my tunes. Better than Ezra is and always will be the shit, so I do not notice when the boys start playing King of the Castle. There are like 9 boys playing, running around and trying to keep each other off the, I don't know what to call it, apparatus. It's not a jungle gym, but it's like the big thing with slides and bridges and all that. It covers some ground. I don't get what game they're playing at first. I think they're just running around. Eventually I hear yelling, like a harpy. Some lady is shouting. I turn and notice Karen yelling at the boys. One of the parents there, whom I do not know name, but daughter often plays with Bethany, gives me a look like, I got this, go see what that is. I thank her and go over to the big slide. This woman is yelling at Falcon, Andy and 3 other kids for bullying her son and not letting him play in the jungle gym. She's screaming and yelling at them, telling them they can't bully him because he's different and that they are horrible little children and all kinds of stuff you just don't say to kids. I'm not the first parent that gets there. The first is a black woman who walks up and is calmer than my mom would have been in that situation. Her little boy was crying and she asked him what was going on and why if they were bullying the bigger boy. The kid, got to be like 6, is snotting and crying and isn't very coherent. But I'm getting the gist. I walk up and the boys run to me telling me what happened. And the lady gives me a queer look, like, who are you and why are these kids telling you anything? This is when I figured out they were playing King of the Castle. It's like a mix of King of the Hill and tag. The game here has rules, like it's teams, and you can only tag someone to get them off the castle if you're in the castle, so the objective in the beginning is to keep the other team out of the castle. The bigger boy was on the other team, but it apparently took like 2 or 3 boys to try to keep him off the apparatus. Now the kid seemed a little young for his size, but I can hear him trying to explain the rules of the game to his mother, but she's shushing him and trying to argue with the black lady, who is incredibly polite and asks her to let her son tell her what's happening. Another couple, the parents of the little ginger boy I assume, cause well, the dad was ginger, come up and start asking questions and they're pretty patient too. Like wow. But this woman is getting very worked up trying to argue with someone. I decide that the game is over for Falcon and Andy, and call over Bethany. We go over to the large tables and I decide it's time for snacks and arts and crafts. I bring enough snacks for a lot of kids, cause I know a lot of the kids out here. So as we're setting up kids we know keep walking up to get fruit snacks. There are individual sealed packages, so I just let them reach their hand in the box to get one. This is when Karen's kid walks up and Falcon goes to give the kid a fruit snack. His mom is still arguing with the other parents, who are all chill as hell. She sees this and walks up and knocks the fruit snacks out of Falcon's hand and begins a little tirade about accepting things from strangers, and me giving candy out to kids and whatever. She asks who I am anyway and if these are my kids. I tell her that I'm babysitting them and that Andy is my nephew, and these are his friends. That's when Bethany comes and sits on my lap, like she is wont to do, and I'm certain I look visibly uncomfortable. Not a fan of having little white girls around me as a black man, just a thing. She gets all huffy and drags her kid away. That's when I think it's over. So far, she's just crazy, not entitled. No entitlement comes later after her partner, so I'm not sure what the proper nomenclature is, but it is another woman who comes over and asks what happened. She introduces herself as the boy's mother too. She doesn't say wife or girlfriend to the other woman, so I'm not sure. But I got a sense they were a couple. She seems level-headed, and Andy explains the game and what happened, which was kind of in line with what her kid says. She goes back and talks to her, so. What I don't notice is that none of the kids are playing with the little boy anymore. Like some kids left, and others are visibly avoiding him. So he comes over and asks for a fruit snack and if Falcon wants to play with them. We are out of fruit snacks. I tend to have a big box of them, but there were more kids by then and we were leaving. I had to meet my wife for dinner. The boy goes back to his mother and cries, but not a sensible mother. Angry mother. She storms back over and starts yelling at me, asking why I would bring snacks for the kids if I wasn't going to bring enough for everyone. I was kind of shocked. Your boy was like one of the first kids that was going to get one and you knocked it out of Falcon's hand. I should have cussed you out about that, but I was sensible, only because angry black man is not a good look around here. Then she goes on asking about how it's not fair to hold a grudge against a child just because you're upset with the parent. She gives me like, what apparently is an apology at the same time of insulting me. It's really damn weird and tells me that I need to let the kids play, as apparently Falcon and Andy are the only kids willing right now to play with the kid. I let her know it's not like that, we're just going, and she is laying into me. She calls me selfish, says if I had kids of my own I would understand. I tell her I don't understand why she's so worked up and that maybe if she calmed down the other kids would let her son play with them. Cause it looks to me like they're scared of you, not your son. I may have said she needed to be a better example for her kid, and this triggered a thunderstorm of you don't know me and who do you think you are. I shrug and tell her she needs to calm down, and that she's not doing her kid any favors being the way she is. She takes this way into left field. She goes, being what way? I tell her, gesture at her. She's got the whole Karen routine down packed. I start to say that no kids wants a Karen for a parent, but she takes it as I'm disparaging her sexuality. And goes on a tirade about that and then gets a little racial. Not racist racial, more like, how dare you, a black man, discriminate against me. And I'm like, I got no issue with you being a lesbian, you being a crazy Karen is the issue. I then request that she leave, because she's scaring Bethany. I stand up and tell her to have a nice day. I'm sorry about the misunderstanding, but I assure her that I have no problem with her sexuality or anything like that or her kid. The kids can play next time. I'll even save a fruit snack for him. She just needs to calm down. Now I know for a fact that telling women to calm down is counterproductive. I don't know why we do it in the heat of the moment. But this makes her angry and she begins to tell me that she's not done talking to me and that I can't leave right now. And she's literally fussing at me the whole way back to the parking lot before her so shows up with a thing from Rita's and looks mortified. Her so screamed Pamela. Loud as death, almost dropping the Italian ice as she walked up. I can't tell you her real name, but it's close to this. The other lady was still sweet and apologetic and all that, but crazy Karen trying to say don't apologize to this bigot and blah blah blah, and thankfully her so shut that shit down. Told the kid they were going, told Pamela to take her ass to the car and in a few short words saved me from that harpy. It was surreal. I'm like, telling the story later to my wife and she was just like me. The lady literally said I could not leave and that she thought I had to stay and let her kids play with mine. Then I had to stay and listen to her berate me about some nonsense. I've experienced entitled parents before, but this was like, I dunno, off your medication. I feel really bad for her kid. He seemed like a sweet boy. Hopefully if we encounter them again, a cool mom will be there instead of a crazy mom. Sounds to me like that lady just wanted an excuse to scream and argue. Best way to shut them down is to ignore them. If they start getting physical, threaten the police on them. Eventually, they'll get it. Step 1, maintain an attitude of victimhood. Step 2, use said victimhood to paint every interaction as antagonizing. Step 3, start fight when antagonized. Introduction, rules for Karens, probably. Wouldn't surprise me XD. And the author is gonna be the Ultra Karen. Good night. She sounds certifiably insane. Hope you never have to see her again. Props to you man for doing what you do even though you feel uncomfortable. You are making a great impact with those kids. You sounds like a great person and I am sending you good vibes and an air hug. Both are worth as much as they weigh, but what can you do? Smile. Sometimes the problem is the one doing all the reflexive screaming. She came looking for a fight, and you won the fight lottery. Kudos for not falling for her crazy and winding up being the one in trouble. Her poor SO probably can't leave her alone for more than 10 seconds. I mean, try being a woman who tells a man to calm down. Shit gets dangerous fast. Angry people who think they have a bone to pick and have decided they can take it out on you are not going to react well to you not getting on their level. Especially when they think they have a right to treat you as less than. Kudos to you, sir. That Karen clearly needed conversational candy to evolve into a Sybil, and you sidestepped the trap until her wife intervened and shut it down. Well-paced storytelling, too. God, this story is long, well it like almost 3 AM for me. Good night everybody who's going to sleep and good morning to whoever's waking up right now and may God bless you all. I don't work here. 3, the curious case of the concerned Karen. XXL. So, I've had a few I don't work here moments in my life. I assume this is because I'm a rather extroverted person and I talk to people. So, I don't tend to talk about times that I had it coming. But, this time was rather interesting. I've recently returned to my home in VA, things down here are more or less open. In fact, not much has changed due to COVID far as I can see. People are cautious. Some things closed for a while, but even buffets are back open and have been for a while. Hell, Golden Corral recently opened back up, not that I can eat there on my diet. I am the creative director for a design team. I tend to be able to work from anywhere, so I'm rarely in my office. Because my job can be done on my tablet and in voice conference, I tend to have freedom to move about. This has led to a few people making use of my freedom. Sometimes the widow of my deceased buddy and my sister-in-law asks me to babysit the kids. Since they're all older than 5, I don't really mind. There's no diapers to change and they all are reasonably intelligent enough to listen and follow orders. I have a hard time with the girls for personal reasons. I just don't feel comfortable alone with little girls. I remember little Bethany pissed herself once and I just would not help her get changed. She was like 3 or 4 and I was like nope. Wrapped her in a towel and drove her to her mom's job. So this is to explain why at this point I only had the boys. I had Falcon, Andy, and Jason. My nephew and 2 of my neighbors' Cissie's kid. Jason is older, like 9 or 10. And Andy and Falcon are 6 and 7. We were at this place called Surge where you have climbing and bouncing on things and foam pits and like ultimate ninja thingies. And I'm like just noticing the kids' socks are mismatched and busted and their shoes are just not right. With Andy, I'm like okay, I may just buy him some new ones, cause he is my nephew. But Cissie's kids' shoes are busted and I never remember them being that way when Paul was alive. His voice was always crisp. I don't know if Cissie is having any issues, or if something is up. I'm not gonna pry, but I get it in my head that since I'm gonna get Andy some new shoes, I'll get Jason and Falcon some new shoes too. And socks. I'm definitely throwing away those socks. So after surge we go to Kids Foot Locker in the mall and I'm letting the kids pick their shoes. They keep bringing me shoes and I'm helping them try 'em on and they keep going back and getting them. Now, if you have ever been to Foot Locker, you know that Foot Locker workers wear zebra stripes like referees. I'm in a cool grey polo with black neck and rings on the sleeves. Big dog logo on the chest. There is absolutely no way you can think I work there, aside from that I am black, and my nephew and Cissie's kids are white. So this lady who, I assume was Indian, Hindu Indian, not Native American. I mean I couldn't tell because she had no accent, I'm just going by the look. And she didn't dress that way, more like a rich soccer mom. She comes and brings her kid to me and tells me, she wasn't sure his shoe size, so if I could help get a hat and that she's looking for a basketball shoe for summer. The kid looks like he's 12. I look up to her and tell her that I don't work there. She apologizes and walks off. Andy comes back with the ugliest shoe I've ever seen. Nike Hybrid. It's like someone vomited the 90s onto a shoe. And there are $110, so, I'm like, I ain't paying $110 for somebody's coked out fever dream shoe. He comes back with another shoe, loud and colorful shoe, he and Falcon are excited about it. Puma Future Riders or some shit. Ugly ducking shoe. But whatever, I ain't got to wear them. I help them try them on, they are too small. We size up his feet and Andy's feet's gotten bigger since last time. So I tell them to get me ones in the right size and maybe pick a different shoe, cause these aren't particularly nice. Lady comes back and she's got an attitude. Apparently she didn't find the worker. Admittedly, I hadn't seen one in a bit. I think they're in the back looking for something for someone. There's a little Latino girl behind the counter though. She starts berating me, asking me why I lied to her and said I didn't work there. I repeated that I don't. She tells me I'm lying and she saw me helping those other kids. I sigh cause I know where this is going. I inform her that the little white children are with me, I do not work here, but, if she wants since I have the size up thing I can help her kid with a shoe. She gives me this very, very weird look and says nothing and walks away. Of course, I'm like whatever. Then Jason walks up, he of course has a pair of Jordans. And I'm like, cool, just make sure you get some socks for your little brother and Andy. And he was like, okay. And he walks off. He comes back like 2 minutes later with his brother and Andy in tow, they all look a little weirded out and looking behind him. Jason tells me some weird lady keeps bothering him and asking him questions. Telling him if he's in trouble she can tell him. I'm like WTF? And he points out the lady and she's out in the hall talking to mall security. I'm like, this is not about to happen. Jason, who is smart, is like, are you about to be profiled? And I'm like, I think that already happened to the kid, I think we're about to be talked to. So I help the kids out with the shoes, get everything and wait for the security guard to come up. It's a woman and one of those biking cops, like with the windbreaker and yellow on top, I think. They're very polite. The cop especially has this look on his face like this is a huge waste of his time. He says that the lady is concerned about the kids. I don't ask why. I know why. I just say apparently so, but we're all good here. He asks the kids if they are all good. And Jason says yeah, that I'm Uncle Unfettered and we're just buying shoes when that crazy lady kept trying to talk to them. I tell him that Andy is my nephew by marriage and Falcon and Jason are the kids of my neighbor who are friends. I'm just babysitting. The security guard lady asks about the shoes and I tell her my reasoning for the shoes and she's very complimentary. It's a good chat and they go back and talk to the lady, who argues a bit with them before looking really embarrassed. The security guard, a woman of vague ethnic descent, I do not know, but she's pretty. Looks like she's dressing her down. As everyone gets their things and getting ready to check out, the other worker is not back from the back and the lady comes back to me and apologizes and asks if I'm still willing to help her find some basketball shoes for her son. She says with everything going on in the world right now you cannot be too careful. I want to get on my high horse and call her out, but I'm like, for example children. Blah blah blah. So I just say, it's alright, her heart was in the right place and it's cool. I helped her son get some shoes, some bright light blue Super Mario Pumas. I took the boys for ice cream at a Sweet Frog that I couldn't eat and called my wife up to let her know what happened. We had a good laugh. The whole, "Are you okay?" the thing happens more often when I have the girls than the boys. Which is why I do not like having the girls. But, it's funny nonetheless. Certainly the most polite negative "I don't work here" moment I've ever been in. You were far more gracious than anyone could have expected and definitely took the high road. I'm sorry to note it was your simple generosity of spirit that exposed you to this mess, but that same innate patience and kindness also prevented escalation and strongly contributed to a swift and appropriate conclusion. I'm really sorry this happened to you and glad you kept your humor and perspective. Thanks to you, it closed well. Here. And I like your username. I need one of those as well. Thanks. I make a conscious effort to be kinder than I sometimes feel, just because of that missing button, winking face. There is a spot on my spine, after a car accident, that if you press on it just right, I'm out like a light. I had an ex lovingly refer to it as my off button. I'ma try that smile, pending getting the off switch installed hopefully sometime in the future maybe. My sister-in-law is mixed, but looks black. My brother is Hispanic but we're all pretty white passing. My nephew is white. Pale skin, freckles, blonde hair, blue eyes. The number of times my sister-in-law got questioned about having her own child is ridiculous. My wife's sister, very much a ginger, married a black guy and had a daughter with him. He had a complaint filed against him because he took their daughter to change her diaper. They got the responding guard fired because he asked, "Are you sure he's the father? Her skin is awfully light and I don't think whites and blacks can produce red-headed offspring." I have a friend who is Hispanic and she married a white guy with red hair. So of course the kid comes out looking just like dad. Whenever she takes her kid anywhere people assume she's the nanny. My mom is Hispanic, my dad is white, she got the same thing with me. My cousin has brown hair, and my husband had black hair. Their child had the brightest red hair and people kept asking if he was adopted until she dyed her hair to match the baby. Both grandmas have red/auburn hair. What the duck? Even putting the horrendous racism aside, no one has to explain their family situation to others. Are you sure he's the father? He is if they say he is. And adoption exists. My friend is whiter than me, I am pale, but have dark hair and eyes, she is just as pale but blonde. Her husband is mixed, but definitely looks black. Their kids have several of their dad's features, but pale like their mom. He gets questioned all the time when it is just him and the kiddos. On the other hand my girls are adopted so we share no features and they are Hispanic, which I am not. But yet I never get questioned. Gender and race have everything to do with it, I am sure. This is so true. I don't even have kids, but have worked in childcare my entire working career. The amount of times people have assumed a kid is mine regardless of race, features, or even age, there have been times when I would have been 11 or 12 when the kid was born, is astounding. Bet you can't guess my race and gender. Just kidding, I'm a white woman. This happened to my cousin all the time and everyone's white. My cousin happens to have olive skin and very dark hair and eyes, and she married a giant Swede and they have 2 white blonde, blue-eyed, ultra-pale children. Everywhere she went people assumed she was the nanny, and people would argue with her. Like she couldn't possibly have such pale blonde children. And when she went out with her husband and the kids, people would ask where the children's mother was. She's like, I'm right here. My dad has olive skin and a broad jaw, and my mom is super pale with a narrower jaw. Because of how the mixing and matching of traits worked out, my siblings and I don't look especially similar. We had teachers who wouldn't put together that we were all related until they saw us all as a group. So I'm whiter than a bag of marshmallows, but this kind of crap really pisses me off. Honestly, if I saw you, I would have assumed either you were babysitting or they were in fact your kids, because I know genetics are weird as hell sometimes. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. People are so freaking weird. I am gonna use that to describe myself at some point, cause it is so accurate. And, like a marshmallow, I go from a light golden brown to burnt to a crisp in seconds flat when exposed to that big fireball in the sky. By racist logic, you and I are related because we have the same skin tone. And I am totally stealing your marshmallow analogy. Casper and lobster jokes get old. Whiter than a bag of marshmallows is definitely going into the repertoire. I'll bust that one out when I get bored with making vampire jokes. Currently the kids still think those are hilarious. I have gone with I am whiter than a grain of rice in a glass of milk on a paper plate in a snowstorm before, but it is a mouthful. My husband says I am so pale that I'm transparent. My foundation shade is vampire. My people. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.